It was a Friday after school, which meant video games, pizza, and talking to my friends all night on the phone. I had just got off the bus and I had the house to myself. My parents were still at work. My mom doesn't usually get home till after 5 o'clock, along with my dad usually around 6:30. My older brother wasn't there either. I honestly have no idea where he was, but he was an adult, so he could have been doing anything. As soon as I got home, I jumped right in bed and got into comfy clothes, like sweatpants and an oversized t-shirt that would be too big for me to wear in public. This was seriously one of the best feelings to me as a kid. Don't get me wrong, I loved school and seeing my friends, but there was just something nice about being home after a long week of school. I went to a Catholic school, so the dress code was very strict. That's why as soon as I would get home, I liked to change my clothes. Mom would also get upset if I was wearing my school clothes around the house anyways. I did my usual routine of taking a shower, relaxing a bit, and eating some snacks while I waited for my friends to get online so we could play video games. My mom got home a little bit earlier than I expected, and she said that her and my dad were going to be going out to some sort of party that was a few hours away. My dad showed up not much later after my mom as well. I was stoked about them going to a party because that meant I would have the house to myself all night. My parents left for the party around 7 o'clock that night. They told me to be safe and they gave me a hug before they left, and said that they would be out pretty late and if anything were to happen to call our neighbor, emergency-wise. Of course, I would call my parents as well, but they wouldn't be much help if they were 2 hours away. We are really close with our neighbors, and we have been for a long time. My parents have known them since before I was born, and we consider them like family. I reassured my mom that everything was going to be okay and that they deserve to have a nice night out. They both work really hard and have always been great parents. A couple hours after they had been gone, I started to get tired. My plans of staying awake all night and pulling an all-nighter had failed. I was way more tired than usual, and I didn't care to fight sleep. I lied awake in my bed for a little while, texting my friends and scrolling through social media and watching YouTube videos. When all of a sudden, I heard a car outside. I jumped up out of bed thinking that it was my mom and dad and that they were finally home. I peeked out the blinds from my window and I rubbed my eyes. I didn't recognize the vehicle at all. Then they pulled into the driveway. As soon as they did, the headlights of the car shined right at me and I very quickly moved my head away from the window. Who in the heck is at my house right now? I called my mom, but no answer. At first I wondered if maybe my parents had drank too much, so maybe they had someone drive them home. But I thought that was very unlikely as they weren't big drinkers. I peeked my eye out of the blinds ever so slightly to where I could just barely see outside, all while trying to remain unnoticed. A few seconds after that, the car revved their engine, backed out of the driveway, and sped off and continued down our street. We live off of a back road in a very small subdivision, and there's only like 3 streets in our entire neighborhood, and my street only has like 8 or 9 houses on it. If you were approaching our house, we are the third to the last house on the right side of our street, and our street has a dead end. I thought that maybe they were just drunk or high and trying to figure out where they were going or something. Oh man, that couldn't have been further from the truth. They knew exactly what they were doing, and they definitely weren't lost. I found that out about 20 minutes later. All I could see was that the car drove towards the end of the street, where the dead end met the dark wooded trail. I couldn't see that far though from my window or from any of the other windows in the house, and I most definitely wasn't going to step outside to investigate. I realize that things like this may happen from time to time, where someone pulls into your driveway because maybe they need to turn around or get situated, or like 10 other things that they could be doing. But I had a serious and horrible gut-wrenching feeling about it. There was never much traffic on our street, and it was late at night, and with me being home alone, I was concerned. Sure enough time had passed by for me to forget about the car and for me to almost doze off to sleep, when all of a sudden, I heard someone yelling in the house. It took me a few minutes to finally realize what was going on because I was so startled and still half asleep. But someone had broken into our home. I jumped out of bed quicker than I thought was even possible. I swear I could literally hear my own heartbeat thumping. That's how freaked out I was. I had to act fast and I knew that time was ticking. My only option was to run. I didn't have anything to fend for myself really, and I had nowhere to hide. Our house is quite small in comparison to your average American-sized home, so I knew it was only a matter of minutes before the intruder would find me, vulnerable. But that's if I was lucky. He could step through my bedroom door at any second now, and I knew that. My mom finally started calling me back, and my phone rang. I didn't answer it because I didn't want to alert the intruder. I was just praying to God that whoever was inside with me didn't hear my phone go off. I ran over to my window and I swung the blinds open and attempted to open my window so I could escape to safety. For whatever reason, though, I couldn't get the damn thing to open. I had never opened my window before and it was locked, but I couldn't for the life of me unlock it. No matter how hard I tried to turn the lever, it just wouldn't budge. I knew I was in some serious trouble now. I needed to buy myself some time, desperately, before the man found me alone. I slid my dresser across the floor and put it in front of the door to act as a barricade, and I was hoping that would be enough to stop him from getting in my room if he tried. I didn't have a closet in my room, so the only place I could hide was under my bed. I thought that was too obvious and that would probably be the first place someone would look, but I had no other option. I heard footsteps on the hard-wooded floor walking down the hall towards my room, and then a loud and aggressive knock following the brief moment of silence. He knocked so hard and it scared me so much I had to cover my mouth before I let out a desperate scream. Then he started messing with the door handle trying to get in, but to no avail. He then started speaking to me. "Hey, I know you're in there. How about you just let me inside and make this 10 times easier for the both of us?" While I was under the bed, I managed to whip my phone out and call the police. To my luck, there was an officer only a mile or two away and he got here in minutes. But still, those minutes felt like ages. The man kept screaming at me, telling me to open the door and to let him in. One of the officers finally arrived and made his way inside, along with 3 other policemen that showed up one by one right after one another, separated by only a few minutes. The officer made it very clear of his entry and yelled police. Apparently the intruder left the door wide open, and that's how the police officer let himself in. Only a few minutes later, the cop found the man who was still standing at my bedroom door and ordered him to get on his knees. The man lunged at the officer and the cop had no choice but to shoot him. The man was taken to the hospital and I gave the police my statement. I called my mom and my parents rushed home. The man ended up surviving the gunshot wound and he is currently sitting in jail right now awaiting trial. My mom got us the best lawyer around and we are going to nail his ass to the coffin in court. I hate staying home alone nowadays, I'm sure you can see why.